everyone! Oh my god, it has been such a long time! Man, I missed you guys so much! Wow. Well, crazy me returning back to streaming. Alright, so where do I even begin? Like, there's like so much stuff that's out right now. Like, I'm not quite sure where to even start talking about things. Yeah, so, well, for the past couple of days, as I said, I've been on a little bit of a journey. I've been, going around South Korea trying to look for some dinosaur tracks. Well, dinosaur tracks, dinosaur museums, you know, just dinosaur things in general. This is just something that I was planning on for quite some time, mainly due to, like, the way the dinosaur things are, like, placed, like, geographically on South Korea. Since most of the dinosaur tracks and museums are located near the south coast and, like, the ridges of the peninsula, I thought it would be a really cool idea to, like, I guess go on a bit of a backpacking slash trip, I guess, through South Korea. That's something I had in mind for a long time, and, you know, since, like, I'm gonna graduate next year, I was like, you know what? Before, my life goes down to shit, we might as well, do something interesting for once, and, yeah, I decided to go there. And, yeah, today we're gonna be talking about some things, that happened while we were doing that trip. Which is actually gonna take quite some time, because, well, there's so much we need to actually talk about. So, let's see. Right. Everything working, just making sure. Right, okay. So what else do we start? We got some things, right? I know, like, Deathground came out, right? Like, I need to take a look at that as well. Well, we got Deathground, let's check that out. We also have something from Ark has a new update regarding not Aquatica. We don't really play that, honestly. We might try Ark Survival Evolved Aquatica, since, like, I don't really have anything else to lose, but from what I've heard, it's, like, still, like, really buggy, so I'm not really gonna touch that just yet. But yes, Ark Velgaro came out. So, you know what? Let's start off today by, watching the trailer for it first, because I don't know exactly what's in there. Like, I know that the Megaraptor is out, but, like, that's about it. So, yeah, we might actually start off in Velgaro again, because we haven't, we haven't done a lot of the things, like, we haven't, like, played Ark, like, as a beginner again. We might try it out again, but, like, I don't know, here's the thing, like, I'm really busy right now, like, I'm more busy than I would like to admit, and, yeah, but yes, so let's watch the trailer first. So we got Baby Deinonychus. What the hell is that? Oh, that must be, like, the new cows, right? Oh yeah, we got the new Megaraptor. Right, they look pretty cool. God, the art maps always look so cool in the trailers. But then you actually play the game and, like, you never get to see things like this. Like, this never happens. It's usually just a bunch of Goswell Rexes. Oh, there it goes. We got some crystal wyverns. Pretty cool. So I've never been to Velgaro, so all of this is going to be very new. We got aberration things as well. Oh, yeah, right. This is the map with all the ice things, right? Like ice queens and stuff. Oh yeah, they also got those new, like, Glupshadow dragon things. Let's go, Quetzals! Oh, yo, what is that? Wait, is there a new Megaraptor boss? I did not know that. Alright, well, that's pretty cool. I kinda wanna play this, now, yeah, we could just, try, like, we were gonna try and beat, Aberration, right? Rockwell. I guess once we go to beat Rockwell, I guess then we'll just branch out to various maps and see what we can do, I think. We'll do it that way. I think that's gonna be more fun, right? Instead of trying to beat Extinction, because everyone and their kid has beaten Extinction by now. Which is something I was pretty afraid of, but unfortunately it has come to this, so... Yeah, because ARC videos take a long time to edit, because gameplay takes a while, I haven't edited an ARC video in like a year, so like, fuck that. Yeah, so we got that. We got loads of this. We got some new things, right? We got Rock Drake. So it does seem like Valgero is one of those Glup Shadow maps that's got like everything from like every single other map ever. So I guess that's cool. Well, it really isn't if you think about it, considering it makes the other maps kind of worthless, but it is what it is. So we have the new Megaraptor boss, I'm assuming, right? But yes, the game looks beautiful, right? It's always such a shame that the actual gameplay that you play in ARC rarely, like, references, like, what you actually experience in-game. Like, the trailers. Like, the disparity of them is pretty insane, but... yeah. That's cool. We're gonna probably check that out, soon. Not so sure, like, ARC's being downloaded. Like, it's being downloaded, so, yeah, we got that. Dino Run 2 has an update, apparently. We got Shiny, okay, that's irrelevant. Like, I'm still looking for, like, when I can actually play the game and not just sandbox mode, so... We're still waiting for that, but we're not here for that. What we're here for, like, I mean, not right now, but, like, is, what was it? The new dinosaur thing. You know what? Just type in dinosaur release date and we'll see. Deathground, right? Oh, what is that? Dino Swarm? What is this? It's a roguelike. Oh, what is this? Oh, wow. Oh, so it's like basically Vampire Survivors, but with dinosaurs. Wait, and didn't we play this game before? No, it was like a different game, right? Oh, but in this game, you get hybrids. Oh, what the hell was that? We can make, Spider Ceratops. That's, I guess, unique. Well, I do like the take on that, like, because we already have something similar, like Vampire Survivors with dinosaurs. I think it was literally called Dino Survivors, right? We played that game on stream some time ago. I'll remember that. It's gonna be just Dino Survivors, but with hybrids. Which, yeah, I can see that. There's also a new game called Gnaw. Alright, we're gonna check that out. We aren't gonna be playing that, like, we need to... Like, there's a lot of things we need to talk about, but, oh yeah, Gnaw, right, there's that. Okay, what is that? Okay, there's so much stuff that's coming out, holy shit, like, I am not gonna have time for this. I got my graduation papers, exams in, like, 2 weeks, oh my god, and, like, I need to finish Jurassic World Evolution 2, because 3 is coming out in, like, next week. Oh my god, there's so much things to do. And remember, I also need to do daily video edits on top of that. Like, oh my god. Alright. Well, let's see what we got. What is this? Gnaw. I like the art style. That's very cool. Oh, there he goes. This kind of reminds me of the art style from, what was it? The Scribble Knots. That's kind of what it reminds me of. So it's just mammals versus dinosaurs, it seems. Sounds pretty cool. Now that I think about it, we haven't really played any of, like, these, like, Mario-esque dinosaur games. Because I never had access to, what was it, Iggy's Egg Adventure? There was that one other game with the pixelated graphics, which had this one part of the level that I could just never beat. So I just kind of gave up on that. What was it called? Theropods, I think? Yeah, we got, but, yeah, we could, what was it, what was the game called again? Like, it was pretty recent, yeah, Primal Planet, yeah. Like, we tried playing that demo, but there was that one part of the level I just could not get past. And I just decided to save myself the embarrassment, so we might play that at some point, but it's not high on the priority list right now. Deathground is definitely something I would love to check out soon. Apparently, they did an update, like, today. But the problem is we need people, and I don't know if we can, if I'll be able to gather up people quick enough, while, like, at the same time, trying to do, write an essay, daily uploads, exam studies, and graduation papers. All 4 things at the same time. That's gonna be driving me insane. I don't know if I have the capacity to start collecting and, get people to join me, but yes, let me know if you guys would be interested in this. Because we can't just have people that are mute, right? That's the problem. Like, they don't have to be streamers, but I need people to play with me if the game, and I want them to actually, you know, be fun. Just can't have somebody who doesn't, like, talk. Yeah, this game is definitely, like, the one game I'm most excited for right now. And I don't even have to be excited for it. The game's already out. I just need people to play it with. Like, preferably someone with good chemistry. Which is always the hardest thing to do when you're trying to make a good collab video. Oh, damn. Bro, that's a skill issue, man. You got killed by a compy. Does this game cost money? Of course it does. It costs like 14 bucks. It's on sale right now. It ends after the exam, so like I can wait. Oh wait, but the reviews are actually mixed, huh? Or how come? Let's see. The game's pretty fun, especially if you get to play with friends. Well, like usually I would say that every game is fun if you play with your friends. So the review kind of doesn't make sense because I've seen people claim that the Isle is fun because if the game's fun if you play with friends, which is just complete bullshit. Because the game itself is just so bare bones that it's, like, kind of nonsense. But with this game, it is friend slop. The genre is friend slop. So it makes sense that the game is more fun with friends. If you expect 100% done and perfect game with tons of master and achievement to grind, this game is not the game for you. Looking for casual friend, fun to play with your homies, you should probably give it a shot. That sounds fun. A great game to play with friends. It's a standalone game from an indie dev. It's not the worst thing, but it's not my thing. The Kickstarter was funded 5 years ago and promised far more than was delivered, and what has been delivered is not the part what I've seen promised. The classes feel mostly useless, none of the tools do that much, hacking can open doors, the gun can make 3 dinos sleep for about 5 seconds for full resupply. For 5 seconds! Wow, that's a power nap if I've ever seen one. The motion sensor gives you some information. The dinosaurs are not intelligent or fun to fight. It's frog DNA, okay? Frogs are stupid. For a game that was almost 150 funded on Kickstarter 5 years ago, this is abysmal. Well then again, guys, like, we have the Isle, so, like, this is, like, what was it? The new game that everyone loves? Like, this is, like, Silk Song compared to the Isle, so, I don't know what their people are complaining about. Very choppy play. So there's been some people complaining that it's a bit choppy. It is optimized like fuck. Well, that's just beautiful to hear. But then again, the game just released, so it kind of makes sense. The game's too broken to play. The maps are really nicely designed. That's cool. Alright, that's nice. There are 2 AI dinosaurs. 2. What variety? The T-Rex in the picture and videos is just pretty decoration and advertisement. It's not even on their roadmap because the next dinosaur is the Allosaur. One of the AI dinosaurs that can't be that sticks to your ass the moment you do so much as touch a vent with your fingertip. Apparently you can not even spike your heels. Okay. Right. You can't even stomp its face with a shoe. Okay. Right. The tasks, at least the scanning ones, are very similar to games with like GTFO. I've no idea what the game GTFO is. So, did you about the T-Rex incident that happened to a person in your stream that told you to watch the accurate dinosaur sounds? What do you mean by that? We reviewed that video a long time ago. Like, did they make like a follow-up video? I think they did, right? I don't know. I don't even remember if I actually listened to that on stream, but explanations for the items you pick. Are you scared? Are you crazy? That would just take up space. Imagine yourself what the items might do. Then again, I don't really see how that's a bad thing, right? More explanation it can't always be bad, right? Because I personally don't really like when I need to figure things out for myself, because that would require me to actually use my brain, and I need my brain to be interesting and entertaining to you guys and try to figure out what's going on with the game. The wrench is made out of crystal sugar and shatters on the tile floor. It's made out of frog DNA. What did you expect, right? It took 5 years for them to release a game that's barely functional and lacks any sense of suspense. I mean, it's a friend slop game. Why do you expect? Like, nobody's playing, like, what was it? That game. Lethal Company. Nobody's playing that for horror. Everyone's just playing that to have fun with friends. I don't see how everyone thinks like that's gonna be an issue. But then again, their viewpoint of games and my viewpoint is pretty different, but I have an analog horror suggestion. Like, I do need to do the analog horror dinosaur video, at some point. We might do that soon. If we don't have, like, if I have enough time. I appreciate the $15 price tag because now you've got about $15 worth of content. Well, that's good. You can max out every bit of each map within 3 to 5 hours. You know what? Like, that's gonna be good enough, right? It's gonna be like 1 or 2 streams. That's more than enough for me. Especially considering Jurassic World Evolution 2 comes out. There's a bunch of new dinosaur games dropping. And there's a lot of things I just need to do right now within like the new stuff. Like, between the 12th of October, between the 20th, like, this week is gonna be like so fucking busy right now for me. I have so much things I need to do. I don't even know if I can even be able to stream every day. Like, I'll try my best, but if we do streams, it's gonna be very short ones. We have a new game called Dino Space Station. Okay. 2D pixel art platformer. Right, dinosaurs in space, what could possibly go wrong? Wait, the trailer is 5 minutes long? Well, at that point, that's just the entire game. Oh, just go show me the bones, right? This sounds fun. Alright, it's a demo, so we might actually do a stream on that. The problem is that I can't even, like, afford to spend a lot of time on these. Like, I can't even make short streams because Jurassic World Evolution 3 is coming out in a couple days. And I need to finish my part before that. So I don't even have the leisure to stream less. So we have another game called Dino Gore. Why the hell there's so many games here that I've... And also, is that the Beast of the Mesozoic dinosaur toy? Oh, we got Diaboloceratops. Okay. A brutal caveman sim. That sounds funny. Oh. I guess this... Okay, it's also got a laser gun. Okay. I guess the game's called Dino Gore for a reason. It's an Augustinia, okay. Wait, hold up. This game actually sounds fun. There also seems to be a lot of dinosaur species variants, surprisingly. You know, oh yeah, speak of cavemen going bungas, yeah, isn't there like, what was it? Yeah, Primal Season 3's out. Yeah, I mean, the trailer for that is out. We should probably take a look at that as well. Oh, wow, this game has so many dinosaur species. What the hell? There's like Augustinia, Pentaceratops. I think I saw Baryonyx. There's also a Diabloceratops. There's like a car thing as well. You got Compies. There's some like aquatic animal. Spinos. Wait, this game actually has so many different dinosaurs. What the hell? Right. Dino Gore. Yeah, that sounds fun. Keys of Fury. What is that? There's some dinosaurs here. If I ever run out of games, this could be something we could play. How did you not get the alert? What alert? I didn't get any alert. An auto battler where you build the strongest squads of nuts and dinosaurs. This sounds AI, right? Like I'm not like this is AI, right? But unironically, if this game came out like 4 or 5 years ago, like people would say that the art looks good, but I think this is just all AI, right? Because AI bad, burger, AI, right? But I guess the gameplay sounds interesting. We might check that out. The Daba alert that escaped. I live in South Korea, so I have no idea what you're talking about. We got On Extinction. Oh yeah, it's that one. Oh shit. I haven't even uploaded this game on YouTube, right? Yeah, this game with the boat. When did I even make the stream of it? I don't even remember. I should probably figure that out and like upload that. Because, yeah, right now I need all the indie games that I've made before that. Like, and just quickly push out videos. We need to focus on those. So, and I think that's about it, right? Dinosaur, we did that. You guys said the what else am I missing, right? There was, oh yeah, Jurassic World Evolution 3, right? Oh my god, it comes out on 21st October. Oh my god, that's on the day of the exam. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. This is like during exam week. Like, this is probably like the worst date for me for them to release the game. And I do need to pre-buy this, right? Because I won't get, like, it's some dinosaur, right? If I don't pre-purchase it. It comes out in 9 days? Oh, yeah, shit, that's right. I don't even have enough 10 days left. How the hell do I finish the damn game? I got so many dinosaurs. Like, I made, like, 50, right? There's, like, 129. I need to make 10 dinosaurs every day. That is insane. Well, anyways, we've I don't know why we're yapping about that. That's on you, Lopho. like, you should have played the game better, right? You should have timed your game better. You decided to go on a week backpacking across South Korea looking at dinosaur footprints, so, like, you knew this was gonna happen, right? Like, it's time for you to pay the consequences, Lopho. Right, so, right, now that we got a lot of people collected here, let's talk about our little trip to South Korea, right? Well, well, it's not really a trip to South Korea if you're living in South Korea, but, yes, let me bring up the big stream media tab. Right, let me just quickly double check if there's like no like selfies in here. Like, I doubt I double triple checked, but always get a quadruple check that my face isn't on here. Because honestly, like, it's not just the issue with my face, right? I don't mind that I look hideous as fuck. The problem is that I didn't really plan on like taking any selfies. It's more like I didn't really like cut my hair like while before I went on the trip. So my hair was just all ruffy, and my hairstyle looked terrible throughout the trip. Like, I was taking selfies, well, just for to check up with my parents, making sure that, like, you know, that I'm still alive and stuff. Make sure to reassure them, but well, I was not satisfied with a single selfie that I did throughout the entire trip. So, because I just looked hideous as hell, right? I was not happy about my hairstyle at all. But anyways, so well, this is it. This is the route that I took, right, guys? Okay, right. Like, listen up, guys. We're talking about no more roleplay, guys, right? Let's be serious here for a moment, because this is going in the video, right? All right, so for the past couple of 5 or 6 days, I have been traveling across South Korea, because as I said before, well, the way the South Korean peninsula has dinosaur fossils, the whole sedimentary rocks are usually on the outskirts of South Korea, which results in basically the position of the dinosaur fossils looking something like this. So, as you can see, there's not much of fossils in the center of South Korea. There's not much of that. But across this edge of South Korea, you can actually see loads of different dinosaur fossils. Well, some of these markings are museums, some of them are footprints. And yeah, these are the places I try to visit, right? Emphasis on the try, because there's some places that I did end up missing. But yes, so this was my track route. It started off like like up there's like Seoul. I took like this to Daejeon, and then I went over here, and then I went over here to Mokpo, and then Haenam, and then I went to Busan, and then I went to Milyang, and then Daegu. So yeah, that was my big trip across South Korea. So the reason I decided to go on this trip for quite some time is because South Korea actually has like a national holiday. Well, they had a national holiday that started off on the 10th, no, on the 3rd of October. And it lasted up all the way until, like, today, technically speaking, because, well, it was a national holiday on the 3rd, we had the weekend, and then, we had, Chuseok, which is basically, like, harvesting, Thanksgiving, if you think about it, in South Korea. So, we had this entire week of Thanksgiving, which led to another, like, national holiday, which was then covered up again by, let's straight comboed off into another weekend, which resulted in, like, how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days of vacation. So, yeah, this was a pretty insane week. So, there was a lot of people that went, like, they went to other countries to chill. They met up with their parents. They all went on vacation, right? It was like a whole, like, glup shit a week of South Korea just chilling the fuck out, right? So I was like, you know, if I don't take this moment to travel across South Korea, I'll never do that ever again. So, yeah, that's why I decided to do that, because, well, better do that while you're in university, right? Because, well, I'm still a student. I'm not grown up yet. Well, I might be an adult, but I haven't matured, if you know what I mean. So, well, so I thought this would be a great day to start off my trip. So yes, so first day I headed off. Originally I was actually supposed to visit this museum, which is the Amyeondu Jurassic Museum. But I ultimately decided up not to go into the museum. Because originally my plan was to, like, go there first, and go over here straight to Daejeon, and go from there to Jeonju with the dinosaur footprints, right? But the problem was that, you can remember, it's slightly different from the United States, right? We don't have roads everywhere, because South Korea is a country that, despite how small it is, there's a lot of mountains. So, a lot of the big transportation, like, the transportation isn't as easy as it might sound, right? So, originally my idea was to go straight from here, straight over there. But it doesn't work like that. It was actually more efficient to go to Amyeondu and then go back to my house in Seoul and then go from there again to Daejeon, which, well, I mean, yeah, you could do that, but, well, I decided not to do that because, well, I felt like it would be weird to, start my backpacking trip, go to somewhere, and then return back to my home to stay the night, and then in the morning go back to Daejeon. So it was alright. Like, I mean, it sounds nice, but I didn't really want to waste the opportunity. And as I said, this was like a national holiday, so everyone was out like trying to book trains and stuff. So I had to make sure that I would end up doing the big trip. Like I was like ordering train tickets, just reserving them in advance. And because I was doing that right before the holiday started, like, tickets were at an all-time, demand was at an all-time high. So I had to make sure that I got the ticket. So I was like, you know what? Since this is basically an entire day's worth of journey, but, like, I don't have to do it now, right? Like, my plan was that if I eventually decided to go back, all the way across South Korea, I could, if I had an extra day, I would just go back to Amyeondu for a single day and just call it like that. Because, well, I don't have to start on my journey over there, but ultimately I didn't do that because, well, as I said, well, turns out I didn't have enough time. So, yeah, so straight up, first, we went to, Daejeon. So, right. Guys, can we please keep the comments, like, I hate to say this, but, like, can we please keep the comments, like, in theme of what we're talking about right now? Right? Like, let's keep role-playing out of this, right? It sounds like right now in stream it may contextually make sense, right? Haha funny, but like in the video it just sounds weird, okay? It looks weird, right? Okay, so the first museum that I ended up visiting is the Korean Natural History Museum. So, fun fact about this museum, right? Did you know that this is the only museum in the entire world that has the fossil of a Brachiosaurus on display? Right, you guys might be saying, like, whoa, hold the frick on, Lopho, there's a museum in Berlin. There's a bunch of museums in America that have brachiosaurs. No, actually not. Those are actually brachiosaurs, or Giraffatitan. Because, well, a long time ago, the brachiosaurs used to be a dinosaur that was found in 2 different countries. One of them was found in America, the other one was found in Africa. Well, it turns out that the African brachiosaur specimen was discovered in, America. Well, I mean, no, what the frick? No, the African one turned out to be a different brachiosaur. Like it wasn't a brachiosaurus, but it was a macronarian. Like it was a relative of brachiosaurs called Giraffatitan. But the fossils of Giraffatitan were more complete than the fossils of brachiosaurs. So a lot of museums ended up using Giraffatitan as their base for their so-called brachiosaurs. But well, the actual brachiosaurs was only the ones discovered in America, and we don't actually have, surprisingly, a lot of Brachiosaurus fossils. Most of the fossils that we found are from Africa, which is from Giraffatitan. So, this museum actually does have fossils of Giraffatitan on display. So, yeah. But yeah, this is the first museum that I started off. And I will say that I loved how the museum, like, started off, right? I'm a bit of a museum reviewer myself, right? Here's the thing, right? Because we're gonna go to visit, like, dinosaur museums, right? Like, you'll see a lot of, like, specimens / exhibitions that sound very similar, right? Because Like, it's a dinosaur museum in South Korea, so of course you'll have the common stromatolites. You'll have the silicate wood. You'll have some trilobites. You'll have, like, ammonite fossils. Like, we aren't gonna be talking about that, right? Because we have them in every single museum, right? But since, like, of the geographic location of where our South Korea is located, right? We have loads of stromatolites that are found. We have loads of trilobites that are found. Ammonites are pretty cheap. So, like, you'll see a lot of them throughout the museum and the pictures we're gonna show you, but, like, we're not gonna be going over each one of them, right? Well, I'll try to go over as many of the interesting parts about the museum as possible, right? So first, this is the Natural History Museum. It's at the Korean Natural History Museum. So I think it was, like, the first natural history museum that has been funded, like, privately, from what I've been told. But I have my doubts on that. What is the dino on the left of the picture? This one, I'm not quite sure myself that they didn't have a label, but judging by their looks, I'm assuming it was like a retro depiction of a Celidosaurus. So, yes. So, the museum started off like this. I really loved how, like, back to, me talking and rambling about the museum in general, right? I want to talk about, like, what makes this museum special, right? From all the other museums that I've visited. So first one, I will say that I love the museum vibe that it gave off. Maybe it was because I visited the museum, like, when it was just opening around, like, 10 a.m. But, like, the fog around this mountain was very cool. Like, it was surrounded by, basically, with the mountains, right? This entire region is like, located inside a mountain, basically. So, you had this totally, like, cool, like, Isla Nublar-ass vibe that I just freaking vibe with totally. So, but yes, when you first enter the museum, you'll see a bunch of, like, these retro dinosaur, like, models that are displayed all around the parking lot. I went ahead and took pictures of all of them, but I didn't, like, put all of them on Discord because it would take me, like, 10 years to go over every single one of them. But I think there was, like, one that was based off the Carnegie Tyrannosaurus model. There was also really I don't even know what this even was. Was that like Smilodon? Was that like a Androsarchus? I don't even know, but, like, this guy and the mammoth had the most silliest, like, expressions that I've ever seen. Like, they, like, if you've seen, like, the Ice Age 3, the mammoth poster on Ice Age 3, that's exactly the expression that they had, and it was just hilarious as frick. But, yeah, we had that. Very cool retro dinosaur models. And we also had these, like, we got more retro dinosaur models. Like, it's very cool, because I don't think, these kind of retro models are commonly found in South Korea. I've said it before, but South Korea has this really weird monopoly when it comes to large dinosaur models, where, like, 80% of every single large dinosaur model that you see in South Korea in museums are made by the same company, so they all look very similar. Most of them, they just have different color schemes, but the entire model is just same. It's just repaints, basically. But this museum, because it was so old, it actually had a lot of, like, old dinosaur museums, right? They had a lot of, like, old displays from, like, a long time ago. So a lot of the models sometimes were, like, missing limbs. Like, I feel like I even had a hunch that some of these models were placed somewhere else, but then they were moved over here. Like, they were all just kind of jumbled, so it kind of makes me feel like that they were supposed to be somewhere else, but then they got moved over here. But it's still a pretty cool place nonetheless. So, back to the moment when I said, do I have this right? There it is. So, yeah, this is the museum inside. It has this huge as display. So, when you join the museum, you see this. So, this is the actual fossil of the Brachiosaurus. So, apparently this museum has 80... Not even 85. I think they got, like... Apparently they say they've got 85% of the Brachiosaurus in the museum. I'm not so sure if it's actually in the mount. Because if you look a bit lower here, like, there's, like, some other displays on the side. They had some bones of that as well. So, that one might have been... Like, that's also part of the Brachiosaurus. So, yeah, this is the Brachiosaurus. They actually did use some real fossils on it, from what I've been told. So very cool. It's a Brachiosaurus altithorax, exactly. It's the only one in the world that has been fully mounted and displayed. So, honestly, kind of cool, I will admit, right? Because everyone says that, oh, Berlin has Brachiosaurus, but no, that's a Giraffatitan. This one is, like, the actual Brachiosaurus. So, yeah, they also had... UR Umaso 2 running in the background. And fun fact, I actually ended up watching this movie from beginning to the end because I didn't have too much on the first day, and because, like, I was always curious on what Your Umasa 2 looked like. I might make a review on the movie at some point, but know that I actually watched the movie now, so yeah, pretty cool. So I think I've watched every single Your Umasa movie. I've watched the original, I've watched the second one, I watched the weird Korean remake, and yeah, I think that's it, right? They only ever made 3, right? So yeah, I basically watched all of them now. Very cool. But yes, anyways, back to the point. We had an actual Brachiosaurus altithorax here, and they also have like an Allosaurus fossil. Not real one, this one's cast. But the reason they have an Allosaurus on display, they actually have 2, if you can see in the background. This is another tail. They got 2 Allosauruses fighting against the Brachiosaurus. And that's because the Brachiosaurus fossil was actually found with Allosaurus teeth. So we don't know what happened. Did the Allosaurus find a dead Brachiosaurus? Did they decide to eat it? Did they hunt the Brachiosaurus? Did they try to bite the Brachiosaurus? Did their teeth get embedded in the fossil? Did the Brachiosaurus escape? Who knows what happened? But we found teeth next to the Brachiosaurus, so that's why they had Allosaurus on display. Pretty cool, right? But unfortunately, the skull, ironically, is that from a Giraffatitan. So, yeah. It's a Camarasaurus Brontosaurus situation all over again. So, yeah. But the skull was that of a Giraffatitan. They got some pterosaur models on display. I don't think I got to take a good picture of them. We got that, and yes. So, you might be wondering, how the hell did a South Korean museum get a hold of the frickin' Brachiosaurus? So apparently, in 2002, there used to be some paleontologists that were trying to go to an expedition to America. But here's the thing, they didn't have enough funds. And it turns out that one of the founders of this museum funded this dig, and one of their goals was that, hey, if you've, like they said to themselves, if we ever decide to find a bunch of dinosaurs, we'll send one of these dinosaurs over to you, right? And apparently they did actually end up finding a lot of dinosaurs. They found, like, Supersaurus, they found Camarosauruses, they found, Brachiosauruses, Diplodocuses. I think it's probably in the Morrison, I think, the way they've been saying it. It was, they said it was somewhere near Wyoming. Is that where the Morrison Formation is? Is it near Wyoming? I'm not so sure. I'm not quite well-versed in American geography, but yes. Anyways, they did end up finding a bunch of dinosaurs and sauropods, and, well, as part of the deal, they sent the Brachiosaurus to us, which is kind of insane. Like, imagine doing that in the modern day. You funded a dig, so you get the entire dinosaur shipped to you. Not something I could see happening in the modern paleo digs, but I guess it was back in 2002. That was before I was even born in the world. So yeah, things were just different back then. So yeah, so that's how this museum ended up getting a Brachiosaurus. And we got some models on display. And I do find it very funny, right? I'll mention that, but for some reason, the plague for the Cretaceous ended up using dinosaurs from the Jurassic. But the plague for the Jurassic ended up dinosaurs used from the Cretaceous. It was so weird, but yeah. Anyways, so I don't know what happened in this museum, but apparently at some point they did a big renovation, because I ended up looking up photos of this museum on Google, and the lighting was a lot different back when somebody else reviewed the museum, because the museum in general was a lot brighter. Because when I visited the museum, it was like very dark. It was a lot of like artificial lighting, as you can see. Like the museum was dark. The like marine reptile display was all like bluish and stuff. Personally, I never really like it when museums do that stuff, because I think it takes like value off of the model. Like, I can barely appreciate the colors. Like, if you're gonna paint all blue over them with the lightning. But apparently a long time ago they didn't used to do that, but now they do. So, bit of a shame. Like, I would like to appreciate the colors on these models, but I really couldn't like get to see them. But yeah, it's a very retro model. Like these Deinonychuses are completely naked. And yeah, the Tenontosaurus is also there. But yeah, for some reason, right? You'd think from a museum that takes pride in the fact that they have a Brachiosaurus, altithorax, on display, they would use that as some form of like advertisement, right? You'd think that they'd be doing that, but for some reason, the museum insists that instead of this dinosaur being a Brachiosaurus altithorax, they gave it this weird name called Shenwu Changwuensis. Because of the location of this museum is near Changwon. So I don't know why they decided to do that, because not only has this name, like, I don't know why these guys even gave this a scientific name, because it's not a name that's published in, like, scientific paper. This is, like, basically a guy, like, it's just the scientific equivalent of an OC. No official publication of this species whatsoever. And it also, it doesn't even make sense, because why would you name the dinosaur after the museum it's stored in? Because this guy isn't even from South Korea, it's from America. It's from Wyoming. Why is it, like, what? Like, so if I discover a dinosaur from France, bring it to South Korea, can I just name it Koreanoraptor? That makes no sense. That makes, like, but yes, they did give the dinosaur a nickname called Chawani, which is cute, right? I don't mind the dinosaurs getting nicknames. So why does it have a scientific name? But yes, these are like the actual fossils of the Brachiosaurus. Pretty cool. We got the humors, femur, radius, and tibia, and the ribs. So you can see the femur here. We got some ribs. We got the tibia. Very cool. Like, these are actual fossil skeletons, specimens. And always getting to see a real Brachiosaurus fossil is always dope, right? There's just something magical about these things, so. But yes, no idea why the museum insists on giving this guy its name, because honestly, like, this is the museum. I didn't have a lot of expectations when I came to this museum, because, well, when people talk about natural history museums in South Korea, this one isn't even usually even mentioned. When people say dinosaur museums of South Korea, most of the people talk about Haeram, they talk about Seonaemun, which is in Seoul, and they talk about, what was it? Gosong. Those three dinosaur museums are the first things that come to people's mind, but this one isn't that bad, because this one has the world's only Brachiosaurus. Dude, this is kind of big! And the only reason I decided to visit this museum is just because it happened to be near some other museum that I was planning on visiting. It wasn't advertised to me at all, and like I had to do my research after seeing this, and it turns out this is the only museum with a Brachiosaurus altithorax original skeleton display. Like, why did they use this to advertise? Like, it's just so weird, but yeah, it was honestly a really cool museum. I think the second floor I couldn't photograph. Apparently, I didn't even know why I couldn't photograph, but there's like two reasons when a museum doesn't allow someone to photograph. Number one, it's because they're stuck in this very old mindset that if you photograph things in museums, people will visit the museum less because you just showed everything online, which I completely disagree. I don't even know why you would be thinking that. Just because I've seen the Sue skeleton in the Chicago Field Museum on Google Pics a million times does not mean I would never visit the museum. I still want to visit that. In fact, dare I say, I actually would be incentivized to visit it now because I know how the display looks like and it looks dope as fuck. Or number two, they're preventing us from photographing things because that are things that we aren't not meant to be showcased around the world, which is pretty ironic because you put them up in the museum to begin with. I didn't realize that when I visited the museum for the first place, so I just didn't take photographs. I think I did go ahead and do like a whole scan of the second floor. They didn't have too much things. Like, they didn't have anything too special, I think, that I've noticed. They had some animal taxidermies, which you'll be seeing a lot throughout the day. A lot of different natural history museums that we'll be visiting. We got taxidermies. They had some fossil specimens. Like, I don't think I've seen anyone that was like very scientifically like valuable. Like, for example, like the original fossils of like a Brachiosaurus altithorax or something like that. They had like some mesosaurs. I think they had some Pistachosaurus. Like, it's like relatively common fossils that, well, because, you know, Pistachosaurus is like the dinosaur to go to. Like, I think even like if somebody has a lot of money, like getting a Pistachosaurus isn't that hard, right? It's like the most common dinosaur fossil to buy because we found so many of them. Like, they aren't that hard to find. It's just that they're just kind of expensive. But yes, there was some tacos. There were a bunch of animal taxidermies. They had some skeletons of like a mammoth and saber-tooth. They were probably replicas though, because I didn't really see any of them being OGs, right? But yes, like it wasn't anything too special. But the one thing interesting was that this museum also has South Korea's only like mummy. So not Egyptian mummy, but like I think if I remember that they preserved the body. But it's not a mummy in like in the term. They didn't actually like you know, like cover it up with bandages like you do with Egyptian mummies. It's a bit different, but this museum has the only South Korean mummy preserved, which is pretty cool. Well, I didn't take pictures of it, mainly because, well, not only was photography forbidden, because, like, I was like, yeah, sure, I'm not gonna bother taking pictures of it, and also, like, I decided to go in there and take a look for myself. I will admit I was kind of creeped out. It's cool, very cool, I will say, but at the same time, I'm not very, not that glad to see, like, I don't want to see, like, a dead person, right? I'm a bit creeped out about that. That's just something I struggle with, right? And I don't know if YouTube would even allow me to show, like, a naked dead guy on screen, right? It's a shame, but the museum display was pretty cool, though. If you guys do end up visiting the museum, I would highly recommend, visiting that as well. Very cool. But yes, after visiting National Korea Museum, I decided to visit another museum, which is called, let me see. Let me look at the museum name again. So, the very funny fact is that this was the museum I was originally planning on visiting, and the Korean, this is the Korean, National History Museum, also called the Gyeongsan Natural History Museum, because the mountain here is called Gyeongsan, which actually means a chicken dragon mountain. So yeah, pretty cool. Totally fitting name for a dinosaur museum. So this is another dinosaur museum that I ended up visiting, which is near Daejeon. But transport over here is a bitch, right? Because it's like there's like a mountain between this museum and the Gyeongsan Museum, and there's only a single bus that goes through from the Gyeongsan Museum to this one. It was like one bus that appears like every 3 hours or so. So, and plus it was a national holiday, so even less buses. So I actually ended up taking a taxi, which set me back like 30 bucks. And yeah, so this is the Judang Museum of Natural History, Museum of Judang. So, yeah. I will be honest, guys. This is the one museum I was kinda mad about. Like, I don't know, guys. But like, this is the one museum I didn't actually enjoy. Dare I say, right? Like, I actually wouldn't recommend you guys to visit this. Like, it's not a museum I would recommend you to visit, right? Crazy, I know, right? Because usually, right, when it comes to South Korean museums, I always say museums in South Korea usually like very cheap, right? Most of the time, there aren't really usually a lot of things that are worth looking at. But in this case of this museum, it was so not worth it. I will actually just tell you guys, right? I hate to say this, right? I really do, but this is like the one museum that I would like really not enjoy. I wouldn't recommend you guys to visit. So, so let's start off with the first thing. So the first thing that I actually am hearing about this museum is the fact that this museum actually is said to have the taxidermy of a Tasmanian tiger. So if you guys didn't know what the Tasmanian tiger is, well, just to keep up your information, it is it's a species of a thylacine. Yes, the Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine. It's the same thing, right? So it's it's a marsupial, right? It's an extinct marsupial. And apparently the museum is said to have not one, but 2 taxidermies of them. And, well, I think, like, Darren Naish talked about it at some point, because one of the visitors to the museum was so curious about that that they decided to ask, well, Darnation about it, a very famous paleontologist. And, well, he basically said, yeah, there's no way that's a thylacine. That doesn't look anything like a thylacine. It's basically, it's a gray wolf that somebody painted over, and they call it a thylacine. So either the museum, whoever got the specimens, decided to paint over those gray wolves to increase the interest value of the museum, or they were scammed out of the specimens themselves. And honestly, I don't know which one's funnier. There's really, like, there's a lot of common, like, the one thing that this reminded me of is that the museum is very similar to that one Christian museum we did a review about, where somebody bought, like, a Dinosaur skull from Indonesia. So, I'm like, yeah, that one looks, number one, that skull, remember that skull that looked incredibly fake? And that they said that was a Dinosaur skull from, like, Indonesia, which makes no sense at all. Yeah, somebody got scammed from a lot of money, I will say that. Hold on, let me see if I can actually find the picture, right? I didn't actually, hold up. So yeah, this is what the actual thylacines look. Let's, let me try to find the actual, the text that I mean. Like, I have pictures of it, I didn't put it on Discord, though. There it is! Yeah, you can kind of see that, like, you can't be serious when you say, this is supposed to be this. Like, at first, for the, like, unknown random person, it might sound kind of believable, but then you see the actual animal, and it reminds me of that one picture where they, like, painted over, like, a puppy in a Chinese zoo and called it a panda. Like, which is crazy, right? Because I think, like, somebody was so curious about it that, like, they literally asked Aaron Nation, and he was like, yeah, this has to be fake. But, yeah, so that's something that they had. They had a thylacine. Well, a thylacine on quotations. It's painted wolves. And not the actual species of painted wolves. They literally painted gray wolves. But yes, the Judang Natural History Museum. Like, I think the one reason that I think the museum wasn't as enjoyable as I thought was because that it's not really a natural history museum. So, apparently I did some background research on this museum, and the guy who made this museum got rich, well, he got the funds by doing something called, I don't even know what exactly it was, but it was basically pseudoscience stuff, right? Like, and you can see a lot of, like, there's some signs of pseudoscience, like, if you go into the museum. Like, there's a lot of, like, random, like, jumble stuff in there, right? Like, so it's less of a natural history museum, and it's more like some guy's weird, interesting collectibles, basically. So calling it a natural history museum is actually kind of, like, misleading. Because turns out the original name for this Judang Natural History Museum isn't even a natural history museum. It's actually, like, what was it? It is the Judang World in, like, Strange Things of the World Museum. Like, this is a name that makes more sense, right? But then they renamed it for some reason into Judang Natural History Museum. And, well, the things that you see inside aren't exactly all natural history. So, the one thing that I was pretty curious about is that first, they actually had, a taxidermy of a whale shark. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Until a couple days later, when I actually ended up seeing what an actually well-preserved taxidermy of a whale shark ended up looking like. Because, well, spoilers alert, and a couple, later during the trip, we ended up visiting a different natural history museum that actually had a bunch of really well-preserved, whale sharks, and they looked way better than this one, so, but this one was the first, so I thought it was pretty cool. So, they had a bunch of stuff, but here's the thing, right? They also had a lot of gemstones, but, some of them are gemstones, some of them are, interesting shapes of quartz, but then you see, things like this. Why do they have, weirdly polished rocks? Why do they have, a horse made out of quartz? Why does the museum have why does the museum have a rock whose entire purpose is the fact that it's shaped like a face of a person? It's literally called a face stone. They don't even talk about, the geologic component of this rock. It's just face stone. And then, then you kind of realize that, oh yeah, this museum was indeed founded by a person who's mainly, got rich of being, what was it, doing pseudoscience stuff. So, yeah, it's just basically just a bunch of, interesting collectibles. There weren't even that many fossils, I will be honest. It was, it was, a wall of just relatively common fossils? Clearly, that's a naturally formed horse quartz. Exactly. You guys have never heard about the horse quartz? I can't believe that. Every 9-year-old knows about the world-famous horse quartz. God, you should be ashamed. And of course, we have the Papo T-Rex. No museum is complete without a sighting of the Papo T-Rex. But yes, there's the majority of these rocks aren't even actual geologic rocks. They're just interesting shaped rocks. There's some sculptured rocks, some interesting rock sculptures. But the majority of it has no scientific value. It's just interesting shaped rocks. This is more something that we fitting in an art gallery. I'm not saying that's anything wrong with displaying them, but you wouldn't see these things in a natural history museum, is what I'm saying. Right? So, I was pretty baffled at that as well, because, I thought I was here for science, not an art gallery, but, yeah, there's a lot of, weird sculptures, too, so, yeah. And they also have the, these are actual, real Korean artifacts, which is pretty cool. But yes, it was it was never a natural history museum to begin with, so, it was, pretty interesting, so... Yes, so the Jurang Natural History Museum. I would not recommend visiting it, because there was also another thing, that they had, well, they only had a handful of fossils, and none of the fossils were, particularly interesting, right? They were all cool fossils, don't get me wrong, but, the one thing that I felt when I visited the museum was, I came here for that? I hate to say that, right? I really do, right? But, why? I didn't come here to see trilobites from Morocco, right? They're relatively commonly found fossils, right? You can see them, in most natural history museums, right? And, there's, nothing really that separates this one from the other one. But the museum did actually have an impressive collection of butterflies. Yeah, not insects, butterflies. They only had butterflies. They had a couple others. They had, 2 beetles, and for some reason, they also had a bat as well. But they had, 2 bats, 5 beetles, and, 900 butterflies. So, yeah, honestly, if you like butterflies, you could visit this museum. But then again, the museum doesn't actually have, a lot of, info panels, right? Most of it is just specimen, name and where it was found. There's no, info stuff that talks about, what species this butterfly was, what it does. There isn't a lot of info on that. So, yeah, it's just basically a guy showing off his collection, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just that it's weird to call it a natural history museum, is what I'm saying. So they had some weird sculptures as well. And yeah, they also had a bunch of weird taxidermy. Uh, where was it? They also had sheep. Yes, they also had sheep. Very weird. But like having a zoo on the back of the natural history museums, like, is honestly something that I've seen a lot of like private natural history museums do in South Korea. They do that a lot for some reason. So yeah, we saw that in the weird Christian museum too. So, but yes, all in all, it's not a museum I would like actively really like recommend you guys to visit, right? Because not only is it very far away, like the transport over here is very difficult as well. Unless you have a lot of free time, unless you have like your own car, I wouldn't really recommend visiting this. But yes, so now we move on to day 2, right? So day 2, we are at the Gunsan dinosaur fossil footprint site. So this is the Gunsan dinosaur slash pterosaur footprint fossil area. So originally, well, when I first entered the museum, there was nobody there. So, well, I thought these museum the footprints were sauropod tracks at first, but no, it turns out these footprints are hadrosaur prints. But because the footprints used to be underneath a lake, it used to be underneath a very shallow lake. So the footprints that the dinosaurs did actually ended up getting messed up. So because I thought they were sauropod prints because they were round, but turns out they were hadrosaur prints that were modified by water. So they ended up kind of looking like sauropod prints. But yes, they had ornithopod prints and pterosaur prints, basically. But yes, what I saw, like this basically this entire region is like located kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? Like when I was visiting this museum, I had doubts myself because like, this isn't really a museum, it's more like a separate building with footprints, like, preserved inside of them. But yeah, they actually did a fairly well job of preserving fossil footprints, because ironically, when I first, visited this footprint, this was, like, my first, like, main footprint visiting site. So I kind of thought that this museum's preservation of footprints was kind of low. Like, I kind of thought that they didn't do as well of a job, like, presenting the footprints to people, because like, the footprints were kind of hard to find, right? Like, the main hadrosaur prints over here were kind of easily visible, but there were supposed to be pterosaur tracks up there. You see those lines? They were marking out pterosaur tracks. You can barely see them. And it turns out that they used to have a hologram displaying dinosaurs walking on top of this, but the hologram projector was broken. So, yeah, and unfortunately, well, as I said, this is kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it was surrounded by a major like farming slash like factory district. So there weren't a lot of like it wasn't near a city, so there weren't a lot of people visiting it, unfortunately. So I guess the state didn't have enough funds. So unfortunately, and that's something that I ended up feeling a lot. Like it really pained me to see that, but they were clearly like cutting corners. Like they also had like a guide that was like entirely AI. Yeah. And you know what the saddest part about this is? This this footprint site ended up being like one of the better ones that I visited. But yes, they had an entire thing. They had because yeah. So basically, this an entire area was found in a construction site, and they were trying to like get rid of the. They were trying to like pave this road that that was actually walking on when I was taking the photo. And while they were paving the road, they found these fossils, and well, they uncovered this entire layer of sandstone, and lo and behold, and beneath there were all these footprints. So, yeah, very cool. And because these footprints were apparently very susceptible to the elements, so what they did was that they actually would cover up one of these footprints with glass, and they would preserve those footprints. And every year, apparently, they would have geologists go to this place and compare the other footprints with the one that was preserved in glass to make sure that the conditions are identical, so that the fossils that you see are out in the wild, basically in the building, don't get destroyed by the weather. So I found that very interesting, because that's not something that the other footprint sites did. So Like, they were clearly putting in effort. They were just running out of funds. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool. So, after that, we went to the Lopho Natural History Museum, which is over here. We found the Judang, and we found the Kerungsan Dinosaur Museum. Went over here with the footprints, and now we went all the way down here, right here. This is Lopho. So, yeah. Lopho Natural History Museum, one of the bigger natural history museums out there, and interestingly enough, their main logo is actually an Oviraptor. Pretty cool. So, yeah, this is basically the main hall. They did renovations, from what I've been told. And honestly, it's similar to the Kerungsan Natural History Museum in the sense that I preferred before they changed it. Because afterwards, again, they had this really cool projector thing on the back, which is cool if you are in person, but it makes for really terrible photos because the entire museum is very dark. So, yeah, the entire main dinosaur hall is very dark because of the projectors in the back. So I really couldn't get to see the dinosaur fossil displays in detail, but I suppose that comes at a price. So the major dinosaurs that we had on display was, I think, we had Tylosaurus, Platycarpus, Allosaurus, the Diplodocus, Dromaeosaurus, Triceratops. They also had an Oviraptor, which I guess you can see over here, which is ironically not an Oviraptor. You'd think when they had an Oviraptor as a logo, you'd think they would actually put effort into, like, making the Oviraptor an actual Oviraptor, but, well, looking at the skull, like, it was, you know, covered up, but it's actually a Trinostinotes or Anzu or like one of those larger Oviraptoroids. It's not the Mongolian ones. It's like the American big ones, right? Basically. So yeah, bit of a shame. But remember, so when I said that the Natural History Museum in South Korea, when somebody doesn't allow you to photograph things, one of it is just them being old time and a boomer. The other one is something that's probably not supposed to be photographed, right? And, yeah, this museum actually had a lot of, like, these private specimens that they bought from a long time ago. And for some reason, yeah, they never returned them to the country of origin, which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why they didn't do that. So, so one of the main attractions of this museum is the Contraptor. So the main attraction of this museum are three things. They have the Contraptor fossil on display. They have the Prenoceratops museum fossil specimen on display, and they have the largest dinosaur nest that was discovered in South Korea on display. So very cool things in general. But yeah, we had the Contraptor. This one is obviously a lot bigger than the real one. They scaled it up, but they didn't actually say that it was scaled up. Well, I know that because Contraptor was a lot smaller than this display, but yeah, they upscaled Contraptor like to be like 3-4 times as big as the actual animal, and they never told them about it. So the average person would just look at this and think this is the actual size, when it's a lot smaller. This is the actual Contraptor. And you might be noticing that this one has like a no photo sign. It's because this one is a fossil that was bought from Mongolia. And yes, you probably thought, yes, your thinking is correct. Fossils that have scientific value from Mongolia, according to the law, are supposed to be returned to Mongolia. But well, this one is still here for some reason. It's not an Oviraptor. It's a Contraptor. It's an Oviraptorid, but it's related to Oviraptor. But yes, so this is the original fossil of Contraptor. Why is it here in South Korea? I don't know. And which is weirder is that the fact that if you look up Contraptor fossils and like if you look up Contraptor, right? You can see that there are replicas of this fossil being sold. So this is one of the more famous specimens of the Contraptor, right? So it's exactly this specimen. But for some reason, like, they bought it and they just never, like, decided to, like, return it, which, I don't know, like, wasn't there, like, a whole actor that bought the skull of a Tobosaurus? They had to, like, return it to Mongolia, right? I don't know why it didn't happen to these guys, because Mongolian dinosaur fossils, if I remember correctly, they're only supposed to be taken out of country to be researched. It's basically like a loan, where they have to return the fossil. But for some reason, this guy is not being studied, but it hasn't been returned either. So, not so sure what's this guy's doing here. Like, why is it being displayed in a museum? Right? Like, I'm all for, like, looking at interesting specimens, but, like, this one is supposed to be studied and preserved, not being put behind a glass casket so that everyone can look at it. Because, like, I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of having a Contraptor on display. I'm just saying that just use a replica, right? Like, I mean, the replicas, like, are basically the same. Like, a 9-year-old kid isn't gonna look at this replica and the actual fossil and see there's a big of a difference. So, like, I don't know why they didn't do that, and I don't know, like, I'm very ashamed, right? Like, why does our country do this? Our country is already falling behind on paleontology. There's no reason for us to resort to these barbaric things. But yes, Contraptor. We got that. And there's another dinosaur egg. Apparently this one's from China. This one's also a private specimen. But honestly, it's just a large dinosaur nest fossil preserved. I guess it does have some scientific merit, but, well, at least dinosaur nests themselves aren't exactly too rare, so, you know, those fossils are relatively okay-ish to have in museums, right? There's some other specimens that I do have some issues with, though. So we got some, oviparous eggs from Henan province, so we got that. And this is the big dinosaur nest that was discovered in South Korea. So it claims this is a gaming stream. Yeah, that's because what else is this supposed to be labeled as? It's not exactly gaming, but like, what else is that? They're playing Prehistoric Kingdom? I mean, this is Prehistoric Kingdom if you think of it. Squint hard enough, right? So this is the largest dinosaur nest that was discovered in South Korea. And honestly, I didn't even know South Korea had these giant dinosaur eggs. So apparently this egg nest is, we don't exactly know which dinosaur laid these eggs, but we can presume by the size it was some animal about the similar size and relation to the Gigantoraptor. So yeah, pretty cool. Like, South Korea had their own Gigantoraptor at some point. Very cool. Like, hope we can eventually find like actual like skeletals of it, but who knows? South Korea isn't exactly well preserved in terms of skeletal material. But yes, we also had this one. This one is the Prenoceratops. So similar to the Brachiosaurus altithorax that we had in Kerungsan, this is the only articulated specimen of Prenoceratops in the world. There's 2 Prenoceratops skeletons on display, although one is in America and it's actually still in the Matrix. So this is like the only one that has been taken out and assembled, basically. So, which is pretty cool. So the Prenoceratops is a relative of the Udanoceratops that lived in America. So yeah, I originally thought that it was like a Ceratopsian from Mongolia, but no, it's actually from America. It's Prenoceratops, similar to Prenocephaly, but Ceratops instead of Cephaly. So yeah. I think the difference between this guy and Leptoceratops is, I think it has a slightly more tilted skull, I think. Yes, very cool. And also, the one thing I realized is that the hind legs seem to be like arms seem to be really short compared to the hind limbs. So I was kind of thinking maybe it was bipedal, or maybe it's just the way it's like hunched down or something. But yeah, the Prenoceratops was pretty beautiful. I like to see it. And we also had Delta Vegetia from the Permian. So I think this is related to the Pyranosaur, I think. It's a fossil from Russia. And I also got to see my favorite prehistoric fish, the Drepanaspis. Yes, it's from the Devonian from Germany. So yeah, very cool. Like, it's my favorite fish, right? It's basically a frisbee with a fin, right? It looks cute, right? So very cool. We also had this. So remember how I said Mongolia we had the Contraptor from Mongolia. Yeah, we also have a fossil from Brazil. It's a Tupuxawara. Why is it here? Why is it not in Brazil? But yes, look at it. It's a beautifully preserved specimen too. At that. Why is it here, guys? Please, can we return it to Brazil? Kind of what happened to Ubirajara? Like, why is it here? But yes, a beautiful specimen. It's a shame that it's just being displayed, right? Like, I don't mind them the fossils being out of the main country of origin, but like they're only supposed to be taking it out for research. They're not supposed to be taken out for display. If they are for display, that's usually from a lending perspective, but they stated themselves that the fossils were bought. So, yeah. They were probably like taken from fossil smugglers and sold. So, bit of a shame. We also had fossils of the Confuciusornis, also from China. Couldn't exactly see the fossils in detail, but if you see it under the X-ray, the fossils do become a bit more apparent. So yeah, that was the Mokpo Natural History Museum. We also have some Mosasaur skull. We got a bit of a Cenozoic section here. Of a Sakusuka skull, and we also had another smuggled fossil. This time it's a Thalattosaurus. I think it's a relative of the Nothosaurus, if I presume. So yeah, that's the Anzu that we saw on display. And that's the Thalattosaurus. They also had a bunch of taxidermies from all these different fish. And they had a lot of different things, but I guess I'll probably edit them into the video. So that was the Mokpo Natural History Museum. And then, after that, it is the Hennam Natural History Museum. Holy shit, I'm just realizing, like... Oh, wow, I need... There's so much I need to talk about, but, like... We've just been this. We just talked about these three stuff. Like, we haven't even talked about all this. But yes, so this time it's the Hennam Dinosaur Museum. And this one is actually the largest dinosaur museum in South Korea. And it's one that I've wanted to visit since I was a kid, a long time ago. But the problem with the Hennam Dinosaur Museum is the fact that it is so isolated from, like, the rest of South Korea, that if you would want to visit that, this has to be, like, its own whole thing, right? This, you can see that it's, like, on the other, like, it's at the tip of South Korea, basically. So, and the museum itself is, like, all the way at the edge. So, you have to go to Hennam, which is over here, and then you need to take the bus that goes all the way deep inside at the tip of the South Korean peninsula. So, it's very hard to reach. Transport is awful, basically. You have to take a bus that's, which only runs every, like, hour or so. Unless you have, it's very similar to the other museum that we visited in the terms that if you have a car, use a car, but taxi is very expensive. It's just like an hour trip from, like, the main city of Hennam to the museum. So transport is a bitch, basically. What I had to do is that basically I had to go from Mokpo to Hennam. That took me an entire day. Like, basically what I did was that this entire day was spent from the third day of my trip was spent from this pterosaur fossil footprint site. I would go to Mokpo. I would spend the day in Mokpo, and then I would go to Hennam. That was an entire day, and because this was so isolated, I had to spend 2 nights here. Yeah, basically 2 nights, right? One in the city, one right in front of the museum, and the other one in the city, because I was originally planning on going to Hennam straight to Busan, but it just couldn't work. Transport was just so difficult to find. So, yeah, I had to spend an entire day here. So, yeah, but it was so worth it. It's the biggest natural history museum in South Korea. Not natural history museum, but it's like a dinosaur museum. I guess it's a natural history museum, but they say it's a dinosaur museum. So, like, it's less about natural history and more about dinosaurs in general. So, it's not, they don't really have, like, taxidermies like animals and stuff. So, it's mainly, like, dinosaur bone reconstructions. So, yeah. we start off with this, a beautiful display of a Utahraptor hunting a Jobaria. Don't ask me on the science of how a North American Utahraptor is hunting an African Jobaria, right? If Utahraptor can be in Spain, I guess so can be, so can it be in Africa as well. Whatever, right? But yes, very cool display though. It was kind of cloudy that day, so it made for a very cool photo. But yeah, the museum is like freaking huge. So yeah, in fact, they literally had like tour buses that had you go around the park, like freaking Jurassic Park. That was pretty cool. I didn't take the bus because, well, I am a grown-up. I have legs. And I was here to go on a backpacking trip, right? I was gonna use my legs. That was the whole point of this. So, yeah. There was a bunch of dinosaur models here. How do I spell the sauropod's name? Jobaria. Yes. So, G-O-B-A-R-I-A. So, yeah. We also have an Alamosaurus. They say it's an Alamosaurus. I will be honest. I'm not quite sure about the reconstruction. The Alamosaurus seems to have a more of a Diplodocus-esque body plan here than an actual Titanosaur body plan, so not so sure what they were going with this model. But yes. This definitely looks more like a Diplodocus, right? Like the skull is very long. This isn't really something like, if you showed me this image and if you asked anybody what dinosaur it was, I don't think anybody would have replied Alamosaurus, is what I'm saying. But yes, we have Spinosaurus carrying the welcome sign. It's pretty cute. But reconstruction issues aside, but this museum is quite old, right? What I've realized is that this museum had a lot of outdated information for what it was. They had this entire they had an Anodontosaurus tail. It was labeled as Euplacephalus. They had a Sinosaurus skull labeled that as the Lophosaurus. They had a lot of, issues as well. They also said that there was only, 11 fossils of Archaeopteryx, so you know how old the museum is. Well, now, for your info, now we have 13. But yes, great museum. I really did like, as I said, the more I visit these museums, the more I became to appreciate, the actual layout in front of the museum. The museum, they had, a beautiful park, had a bunch of, dinosaur models on display. It wasn't they weren't really tightly placed as other museums that I've been before. It was really a big park with a main visitor center in the literal center of the museum. It kind of, I could definitely see the Jurassic Park inspiration from here. It was pretty cool, I will say. So, yeah, this is the one thing that most people know the Hanam Dinosaur Museum for. It's this really cool display of, what was it, Malawisauruses? Breaking out from the side of the museum. Pretty cool display. When I always saw this image when I was a kid, I thought these sculptures would be huge because these are sauropods. I didn't know they were Malawisaurs. But yeah, as you can see, this is like an air conditioner. The display that I thought was huge as a kid, turns out the display isn't really that big. That's like a guy. The display isn't big. It's okay-ish size. I thought it was huge, but it's surprisingly mediocre size. So yep. We also saw the actual fossil of the SCP-250, the Monolophosaurus skeleton. Which yeah. It's supposed to be an Allosaurus, but they used the Monolophosaurus as the image, so it's a Monolophosaurus. Okay, shut up. But yes, SCP-250. It didn't kill me though. And yeah, we got loads more pictures. So, because South Korea is well known for our dinosaur footprints, we also had an entire section where they showed the various dinosaur feet. They had a gallery of dinosaur feet, I kid you not. But yeah, it's more interesting than I made it sound, because they showed some replicas of pterosaur footprints, because this place is in fact where we found the Henamicnus footprints. So, because, well, it's called Henam, right? Why'd you think the Henamicnus was called Henamicnus, right? So, Henamicnus, if you didn't know, it's those pterosaurs that you saw from, Speckles the Mighty Zever. Right? Remember this documentary that Rick Rapper did a review on? These ones? Yeah, these ones are actually the ones that are based off, the tracks. the Hanamicnus is a name given to a footprint track. And it's a bit of a minor gripe that I had because the museum never really made it apparent that the Hanamicnus is not actually the name of a pterosaur. It's a species name given to the footprint, but they kind of just synonymized with the actual pterosaur, which we don't even know what the actual pterosaur looked like, but yeah. So the Hanamicnus is a species of a footprint. It's not the species of a pterosaur, but they kind of use them interchangeably, so yeah, a bit weird. They all, yeah, anyways, the entire dinosaur foot gallery. So yeah, it's an ichnogenus, basically, yes. So, interesting fact was that in this wall of dinosaur feet galleries, they were basically showing off different dinosaur feet and basically showing that how the footprints could have shaped, right? And underneath Segnosaurus, they didn't actually have an image of the dinosaur, right? Because a long time ago, Segnosaurus, we didn't actually know what Segnosaurus was for a long time, right? Because we didn't, like, the Therizinosaurus as a group was relatively recent, right? So, when Segnosaurus was first found, we didn't actually know what it was. I remember reading in an old dinosaur book, and it was actually labeled as a long-living relative of, like, the Plateosaurs. Which is probably why they put the foot right next to a Plateosaurus cast, because this one is a Plateosaurus foot, and this one is a Segnosaurus foot. So I guess they were just putting them in a, like, side by side to kind of show them that they could have been related. Well, now we know that they were completely different relatives of the animal. One is a prosauropod, one is a therizinosaur. But yes, back then they thought they were pretty similar. Which, I mean, looking at the feet, I can kind of see where they were coming from. But we now know more about the animal. So hey, science changes. That's just the way it works. So yeah, pretty cool. And this one. So this is another interesting fact about the Hanam Dinosaur Museum. They said they had one of the more complete fossils of the Allosaurus. Yeah, they have the original real fossil of Allosaurus. They made it really sure because they literally stayed real fossil. So, very funny that you mention it because this Allosaurus had a huge scandal, right? Let me tell you about that. So, the museum bought this Allosaurus for like 1.6 billion won, I think. I'm not so sure how much that is in Korean US dollars, I think. I'll probably put it up in the description or something like that. But yes. So apparently, after like reviewing the actual fossil that they purchased, they complained to the seller that they way overpriced them for the fossil. I think they went to court over that, and the court ruled in favor of the seller because the seller included like the transport fees and like the insurance. The fossil was insured, basically, yada yada yada. All that was included within the purchase fee. So I think the court ruled in favor of the seller ultimately. But it was also a scandal because a lot of people actually ended up saying that there's not enough fossil of the Allosaurus to even consider it a real fossil. Because if you see at the skull here, the skull actually has two colors. The front nose part of the skull is like lighter, whereas the back side of the skull is darker. That's because the darker part of the skeletal remains, as if you can see, are like the actual fossils, whereas the lighter part are just reconstructions of the animal. So yeah, there's like, you can see that there's like one arm, behind skull, a bit at the the hip bone, some of the legs, a couple parts of the tail, some of the ribs. Those are the only real parts. Like the main skull part, not complete. They don't even they had like the rear end of the skull, right? The front end of the skull was just completely lacking. Which, well, for some reason, for you guys that you don't know. Apparently, the way fossil sales work is that they value the skull the most. So, if an animal has the complete skull, it is considered a higher quality than an animal that has less skull, basically. So, yeah, this one has like a quarter skull. So, I'll let that for you guys to decide. But yeah, huge scandal with the Allosaurus. But yeah, I personally, I wouldn't even consider this complete. It's like 40%, right? Like, if this was fossil fighters, I don't know if I could even revive the damn thing. It's probably not enough points, I'd say. So, yeah, Allosaurus, pretty, like, it's like the only, like, actual, why did the court allow the seller to win? No, it makes sense, because the seller included, like, they overpaid for the Allosaurus skeleton, because the seller said that the fossil, they sold the fossil with the transport and all the, like, insurance fee was included with the purchase, right? That's what they said. And, like, if you think about it, it does make sense, right? Expensive fossils having expensive insurance, that's just the way it works, right? Like, sure, the actual fossil is way below the value of which they paid for, but, like, I do think that what they said makes sense, right? Like, I think it holds up. Like, it does hold up. I think it makes sense. It makes sense, I think. But yes, not quite sure about them saying that, well, to be fair, they never claimed that it was a complete skeleton. So, they said it was a real skeleton of the Allosaurus, which I guess is kind of misleading, but, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, I mean. So, yeah, I mean, it is the only real fossil that we have of the Allosaurus in South Korea. Sure, it might be, like, not even the half of the actual fossil, but at least it's something, right? So we got that, and as I said, the museum definitely shows its age. Eoraptor is labeled as, theropod, which now we know it's a sauropod, so, yep. We had the Jurassic dinosaur display, which is pretty cool. I really enjoyed the Jurassic dinosaur display, because I think it's, like, the one display that didn't age too terribly. Right? I think the Stegosaur has a bit weird way of being presented. I think the back was a bit hunched. They also had, Huyangosaurus over there. And they also had, what was it? Ryogosaurus, I think? Not Ryogosaurus. What was it? What's the Chinese Jurassic Park sauropod again? It wasn't Ryogosaurus, it was something else, right? Or something else. Let me know what you guys, the name. Primitive sauropod from China. That was something that I talked about. I remember saying that, oh, because this is a Jurassic, this fossil was from China, so if it's a Chinese dinosaur, it has to be that guy, but I freaking forgot what the name was. Well, I took it on the photo, so, well, we'll talk about that, but yes. So, I think they had, was it Bactrosaurus or was it Camptosaurus? I can't quite remember. I think it was Bactrosaurus. So yeah, this is the one. So they have Bactrosaurus, Camarasaurus, Stegosaurus, Kentrosaurus, Agilisaurus, and interestingly enough, the large Jurassic sauropod was Omesaurus, actually. It wasn't Mamenchisaurus or Diplodocus, it was Omesaurus, which is pretty cool. So, they actually had like a bit of a tail club at the end of the Omesaurus, so pretty cool. They also had the Kentrosaurus, which I think they placed a spike in the wrong way because they had the spike pointing forwards when it was supposed to be pointing backwards. No, not Unanosaurus. It wasn't Unanosaurus. It was something else. It was from the Jurassic. Well, Unanosaurus is from the Jurassic, actually, to be fair. Let me remember again. Lophangosaurus. Yes, it was Lophangosaurus. Yes. That's what it was. So, yeah, we got that. And we also have Velociraptor fighting Protoceratops. They're all replicas. We got the Triceratops replica, Struthiomimus with Albertosaurus. Some reason they had the Ceratopsian skulls from Canada pointed backwards, but at the same time they blocked off the way you can see the main path that you had to take to see the fossils up close. So I don't know why they decided to place it this way. Like, why did they point it backwards? I didn't get it, but yeah. We also had the Euplocephalus. Again, this is the tail of an Anodontosaurus. You can see that because the tail is very wide. Whereas if you see at the Euplocephalus, the tail is more rounded out. So yeah, this is an Anodontosaurus. Wait. Mamenchisaurus has a tail club? Yes! Most Mamenchisaurus actually had a tail club. And we actually don't know what they were used for. Because I think somebody has said that they would make that their main topic of research. But we don't know why they had that. Because, well, I would assume, like, why would they have the tail club? Like, I mean, for Shunosaurus, it makes sense because it's a bit of a smaller sauropod. But you're a freaking Mamenchisaurus, you have a huge-ass tail. Like, same with Omesaurus, you have all that tail, and the tail club isn't even that big, so, like, do you really need that tail club? Like, you already have a giant-ass whip. But yeah, I do wonder what the tail club was useful for. So yeah, they had the Anodontosaurus tail. They also had the Wankel Rex, which they labeled the T-Rex as T-Rex 555, I think. Because there aren't that many T-Rex specimens in the world, if you Google specific numbers of the specimen, you can actually get to see more info about them, which is pretty cool. So traits are hard to lose when you evolve them. True, maybe it's from their ancestors. So you have the Wankel Rex, which I think the original one is near the Rocky Mountains. This one's of course a cast. And we also have Stan as well. But I don't think I put the picture up here. Yeah, I didn't have Stan here. But the image, I have it on my phone. I will probably edit that in. Right, very cool. They also had Falcarius too. Yeah, which is pretty cool. I think this is like the only Falcarius mound in South Korea. No, it's not the actual fossil, but still. I like it when museums have their like unique dinosaur mounts. So we also had this. Like again, interesting robotics, but they kind of ruined it with the lightning. Like I don't know why natural history museums all like insist on having this multicolored lighting when it comes to their dinosaur animatronics. I think it makes dinosaurs look a lot more uglier because all this colorful light. I prefer just to use them natural light. I think it just looks better in my opinion, but I don't know. They had this display. They also had this. They apparently called this a Trudon, which I don't think that's a Trudon. But yeah, you do you. They had also a Quetzalcoatlus, which I'm pretty sure is based off the Walking with Dinosaurs one. They also had another Malawisaurus. And marine reptile area, they had a Pliosaurus. For some reason, they were using the DK Lipleurodon image for that. Trudon is invalid. Yes, right now. As of right now, it is. But of course, as I said, they didn't bother fixing Sinosaurus / Lophosaurus and Euplocephalus / Anodontosaurus, right? Like, them calling Trudon, it kind of makes sense, right? They didn't bother updating a lot of stuff. So they also had a bunch of replica pterosaurs, pretty cool. And they also had another Quetzalcoatlus skeletal display. They had one in the footprint display, they had another one in the pterosaur display. Like, they must have gotten a really killer deal on these guys. But hey, more Quetzals is always appreciated. They do look cool. So, yeah, this is the Ceratopsian skull. I had to, like, go between these, like, weird balloon dinosaurs to take a closer look on them. But they had Chasmosaurus, Centrosaurus, Styracosaurus. Very cool. And they also had two fossils of Jubaria. Not real fossils, they're all casts. Evolution of birds, they say. I'm not so sure why they had these things on the back. They don't exactly, like, fit the actual animal depiction. But the animal like replicas were a lot better here in this corner, mainly because they tried to make it as bird-like as possible. But yeah, they actually made the Velociraptor some plumage. They also have this Caudipteryx, which admittingly looks pretty ugly, but then again, this model is probably like 20 years old. So they did best with what they could. Also a bunch of replicas from the Archaeopteryx specimens. They had their entire, like, geology from South Korea area, which is pretty cool. And I didn't actually spend a lot, like, as I said, this location is very far out. So I had to, like, order food inside the museum because, well, because the museum is so big, it's an entire park. They had a restaurant on the second floor. I will be honest, this is probably the most expensive katsu that I've ever ate, and it was not exactly good. Bring your own food when you visit the museum, I swear. Like, this museum, this was so not worth it. Yes, so they had a cool mural, like with a post-apocalyptic view of the museum. Actually pretty cool. And then you went outside to the dinosaur parks. They had a Monlophosaurus models, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen. So this is, by the way, this is the company that, as I said, makes like 70% of every single dinosaur like model in South Korea. They're all made by this one company. So seeing a Monlophosaurus from that company is a pretty surprise, because I don't think I've ever seen a Monlophosaurus made by them before. So pretty beautiful surprise. They actually looked cool too, so that's a bonus. Guess what dinosaur this is? If you guess Mamenchisaurus, I kid you not, you're actually fucking correct. Sure, it might not actually have the characteristic tail club. It might actually have a way too oversized tail for its body ratio than the actual Mamenchisaurus, and its skull is completely unshaped like that of a Mamenchisaurus, which is supposed to be a much more shorter and rounder. But yeah, that is apparently a Mamenchisaurus. They had this really cool like playground display that was kind of shaped like a pliosaur. Pretty cool. Very architecturally pleasing, like things like that. Like I like taking pictures of these. So now let's move on to the actual tracks, which is like the main reason what we came here for, right? Skeletal displays are pretty cool, but like this is the place. This museum was built on the dinosaur footprint track site. So that's why it's actually so far out in the wild, is because, well, the fossils was displayed near the coast. So the museum was built on the fossil footprints. So yeah, that's why it's so far out. So yeah, we can see some sauropod tracks. Yes, you can see some feet. They're not feet, but tracks basically, but yes. So this one is more feet, but this one you can see these star-shaped footprints. This is what happens if a dinosaur put its foot on the ground, and then it's like it fills up with mud and water. So that's what happened. That's why you have these like star-shaped footprints. So yep, I think these are hadrosaur. And interestingly enough, they also had a Huabesaurus as one of their footprints. Presumed like owners of the footprints was labeled as Huabesaurus, which is a sauropod from China. Never really heard about him, but found it interesting that they mentioned it. And there it is. There's the Hanamicnus prints. So you can see these like weirdly like earlobe shaped prints. That's the hand print. So this lobe thing at the back, that's the wing part matching the ground. Here you can see the hind footprints. You can see that. And what's interesting about these prints is that you can actually find traces of the feet being webbed. So pretty cool. So yeah, that's basically how the footprints look. The pterosaur footprints, I'm gonna be honest, I had a bit of trouble looking for them. The footprints were not exactly well displayed. Like, you can kind of make out the shapes, but I kind of wish they highlighted them a bit better. Now the ornithopods. So they had some wood fossils there as well, embedded alongside the footprint. Never really seen that before. Pretty cool. And like this is what I was wanting them to do. Like, actually highlight the prints so that normies can find them. But yes, some hadrosaur prints, and I think around the edge of the hadrosaur prints, you can actually find some theropod ones as well. And of course, look at this abysmal Hypsilophodon. Definitely not a compy from Unity Store asset, but yes. And we also had some bird tracks. So, which is a shame, because they're placed like this, inside this really thick glass wall, that, like, I could not see these prints. I don't know why they were displaying them like that, but yeah. Honestly, minus these main dinosaur tracks, a lot of the other tracks weren't exactly well preserved. Like, either they were just exposed to the elements, or they were displayed in a way that I could hardly make out. And like, if I can't make out what these footprints look like, Well, no shit. I don't think anybody else would be able to find out what these footprints are, right? I'm a bit of an armchair paleontologist myself. There's no way 80-year-old Timmy can find those footprints if 23-year-old Lopho can't find them. So, we also had this, just natural weathering stuff. They also had these bunch of these, like, windmills, so, because it was near the ocean, a lot of wind, so the windmills would just roll around. So, yeah, that's the Uhangri Dinosaur Museum, also called the Henam Dinosaur Museum, so, pretty cool. We got more dinosaur models, we got some velos, naked velos attacking a proto, and this was, like, some kind of, like, aqua playground thing that it had on the back. I did take a picture of it because I love the freaking murals on them, because this looks so cool. Yeah, they had like a mural on the wall, but the head is like a 3D model. That's pretty cool. And on the backside, they had this. So yeah, a bunch of like copied art, but it's cool. I guess. Some Ceratosaurus is hunting Brachiosaurus. Pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen Ceratosaurus made by this company before as well. So pretty cool. And we got some more Nomendubiums. And also, they also had Tigrex for some reason. Yeah. No, yeah, this is obviously a Tigrex. Like, yes, obviously. You got these ear, like, horns. The head, the jaw, that's obviously a Tigrex. So, pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty nice weather. And I also found a Kinder Joy dinosaur egg that had a dinosaur printed on it. But when I opened it, I got a freaking road roller. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess Dio infected the egg. Right, so here we are at Busan. It only took us a 6-hour bus trip. So the entire Wednesday was spent me from going from Hanam all the way to Busan. Because, yeah, I just had to traverse across South Korea. It took me freaking ages. It was the entire day. Ate some interesting things. Saw some interesting looking houses. And yeah, we went to the Busan Marine Natural History Museum. So this is the museum that doesn't actually have too much in terms of fossils. But they probably had the best looking marine animal taxidermy I've seen. So yeah, look at that. They also have some interesting baby crocodiles. They're all like real taxidermy, and they did a really good job at them as well. Probably like the best taxidermy I've seen. We got some Cocostus fossils. We got some replica fossils here from like Mosasaurus and I think Mesosaurus as well. And they had real animals too. But most of them, I visited the museum during the early daylight. So most animals were pretty lazy. They were all just asleep. I mean, they're cold-blooded, what can I say? They also had the, like, some really interesting, like, side exhibition about the coelacanth. And also, I just wanted to take this picture because this is supposed to be, like, living fossils. Can we just talk about how cursed this mascot is? Why does it have, like, an extra side of eyes? Like, you guys know that this is eye, right? Why does the Nautilus have an extra eye? I don't mind the cute face, but like, why the extra eye? That just looks cursed. But yes, and then I saw this. So this is like an actual whale shark taxidermy. And then I kind of realized how much worse the condition of the previous one that I saw a couple days ago was. Because this one looked a lot more drier and like a lot more like dried up, as you can see at the end of the fins. They're all crusty. Well, this one is like a lot better preserved as well. So yeah, then I kind of realized, yeah, that museum that I went before, that one really wasn't that good. Because yeah, if you wanted to visit, if you wanted to see taxidermy, go to this museum. This museum had a lot of like really well taxidermy, and also the entrance of this museum was completely free. So yeah, very cool. And they also had an iguanodon on display because, well, as I said, South Korea has a lot of ornithopod footprints. That's why they had an iguanodon model, but you can see it's very dated. This actually used to be at the entrance, but then at some point the model was moved to the back side of the museum. Why? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, this model is very old, probably from the early 2000s. Right, and now we will move on to the Shinpyeongri Coast dinosaur footprint fossil site. So yeah, very cool. Mainly I wanted to visit this because, well, it just appeared on my Google Maps saying that this is a place I would be recommended to visit. So I was like, sure, let's visit that. So what's interesting about this footprint is that the footprints have kind of been reversed. So you can see the footprints aren't inside the rock. They're popped outwards. So yeah, we got some footprints here. Some dinosaur footprint action. There are probably ornithopods. And yeah, we got to see the coast. And this is the edge of South Korea. If you look really, really freaking closer, you might be able to see Japan. Just kidding. Japan is like miles away. But in theory, if I were to shoot a laser beam straight over there, it would probably hit Japan. Yeah, dinosaur footprints. Unfortunately, they were really not well preserved. Well, as I said, the first pterosaur / ornithopod footprints that we saw, that one was relatively one of the better preserved ones out there. Like, I don't know why they were like putting these footprints in the middle of like nowhere. Like, the least you could do was like try and build something around that, right? I don't know why they didn't do that. Maybe it's because it's too close to the coast. Maybe they didn't want the house to get wrecked, I guess. But like, I just felt bad for all the leaving these footprints out to the element. I guess it's just part of nature, but still. So we had the coast Busan at night, very beautiful. Saw the sunrise as well. And yeah, I also bought these. They're Monster Hunter cookies. And I got these cards from them. I got Seregios, Monster Hunter 3, and World. No idea what that means. So we went over here. This is like a whole, like, this is like a rail coaster, basically, that goes across the coast of Busan. Pretty cool. The reason I went there was because there are apparently dinosaurs there as well. So, yeah, not really anything too interesting I've seen. Mainly, this was basically an excuse for me to take this railroad ride, but this was actually really scary. You guys know I'm afraid of heights, and this one was pretty high up, I will say. So, I guess I'll put it in the video, but like I was like freaking the crap out when I wrote that. But the view was pretty nice, and yeah, they had some very rough dinosaur robots there. But yeah. They had oviraptor babies on an iguanodon fighting Deinonychuses for some reason. No idea what that makes sense. It's a European herbivore being attacked by American dinosaurs while guarding Asian dinosaur eggs. That's interesting display, right? And of course, no museum is a perfect museum without having the Papo T-Rex, so there it is. Yeah, all in all, like, it was mainly just an excuse for me to write this thing, so pretty cool, nice view. And now we went on to the Bugyeong National University. Their museum actually had the Bugyeongosaurs. Well, it's a nomen dubium. It's similar to Trudon because there aren't enough fossils to make it valid, its own genus, so it was basically stripped above its species privileges. Basically, some years ago, but yeah, you can find a cast of it here. Pretty cool though. It's one of the few South Korean dinosaurs that we used to have its own name. I think the main three dinosaurs would be Koreaceratops, it was Koreanosaurus, and it was Bugyeongosaurs. But Bugyeongosaurus is no longer a thing anymore. So, yeah, it was. I think this guy was like the first big guy though, like the first dinosaur. I think Koreanosaurus and Koreaceratops came after Bugyeongosaurus. So he was like the first Korean dinosaur, basically. And yeah, this museum also had casts. Very cool. And they also had a big fin whale bone displayed at the museum. So the jawbone of this fin whale was actually used as a gate for one of the buildings for the university. But well, then they put it in the museum because, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Why would you have a fin whale bone outside? Like, I mean, that's why the bones are so weathered down. But I guess it's pretty cool though. Like, imagine walking underneath the jaws of a whale every time you had to go to class. Now that's a class I'll take. And they also had a real coelacanth taxidermy. Apparently it was given to us when a country gave our South Korean, it was given to us to the South Korean president as a gift on the 1986. So yeah, very cool. So, and it's stored in this museum exactly. So real coelacanth taxidermy, very cool. So yep, and right. Oh my god, there's so much I still need to talk about. We went to the Daeseung Fossil Museum. Pretty cool museum. The museum was mainly focused on smaller specimens, but the museum has had a very cool architecture. So architecturally it was beautiful. But the actual museum had a lot of smaller fossil specimens. So if you're going to this museum expecting some dinosaur or like a mammoth, no, you won't find it here. Like, the biggest thing you'll probably see is like a turtle. Or like a skull of a rhino. And yeah, this is basically how the South Korean geology looks. You can see that there's a lot of sedimentary rocks down south. Not much up here. And this is a very interesting image that I wanted to talk about. So, looking at this prehistoric rhino skull, like, if you don't speak Korean, you would assume that what this says is don't touch, right? Do you know what this says? It says don't doodle. They say all rules are written in blood. Why does the sign say don't doodle? Like, is there like a doodler? Was there like a menacing doodler just scribbling on the fossils? Like, I'm just curious on the backstory here. What kind of circumstance did lead the museum to have plaques containing the words "Don't doodle on our fossil specimens"? Why would somebody do that? Why? How? When? Like, I'm more curious on the backstory of this. Like, what happened for them to get that on? But yes, a lot of these fossils have "Don't doodle" written on them, which is a bit of curiosity myself, if I say so. Alright, let me go grab a drink. Right. So we had some whale bones as well. Whale bones are surprisingly common in South Korea. It's like megalodon teeth where they get swept up. So we also have this very interesting thing. So the museum has like the third floor of the fossil museum is like an experiment corner for like little kitties. They had like this weird dinosaur dig. You know the common things that they have? Like they have a sand pit where kids can dig up dinosaurs and shit. But they also had these, which is very cool. So this is apparently like a trilobite telescope. So if you look inside, you can see the world through the eyes of a trilobite, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Now this is how the world looks through the eyes of a trilobite. Very cool. And they also had something for the big kitties like me. They had an entire section about modern discoveries, and they implemented that into their exhibits. So this paper was from 1999. They also had another paper written in 2022 as well, I think. They had a lot of the modern depictions, and they were like modern papers, and they were displaying them alongside the fossil. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, this is the actual image that they used for the scientific paper for this one. So yes, very cool. And apparently, right? So next to the Daeseung Fossil Museum, there's also the Science Center, the Daegu Science Center. But for some reason, when I first looked up the Daegu Science Center up on Naver and Google, they didn't tell me they had dinosaurs. So I kind of thought that, oh yes, there's probably nothing to see there. So when I visit this museum around like 4 p.m., I was just looking at this museum very slowly, and I ended up like finishing like looking at this museum and all the fossils around like 5 p.m., right? And just when I was about to go out, just in case, I ended up asking the person and selling the tickets, you know the science center right next to it? Do they have dinosaurs there for any chance? And like, believe it or not, and they said they had dinosaurs. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? They didn't tell me they had dinosaurs. Like, I thought they didn't have dinosaurs. That's why they had the entire fossil museum right next to it. But no, apparently they had dinosaurs in the science center too, and they had a huge section of them as well. And so I was like rushing to the science center like 30 minutes before they closed, and I was like begging them to let me in because ticket sales were supposed to be closed around 4:30 p.m., but I rushed it at 5 p.m., and I was literally begging them to open the door because it was like an hour away from my hotel, and I could not go there the next day. So I was like, dude, I'm looking through every single dinosaur museum in South Korea right now. This is like one of my main last steps. Just let me in. I just want to look at the dinosaurs for like 10 minutes and I'll be out of my way. Like, I was literally on my knees begging for them. And like, they were kind enough to let me in. But like, guys, ticket sales end at 4:30 p.m. Don't be like Lopho. Don't rush in at the very last minute, okay? But yes, I didn't get to enjoy the museum. I was like, mainly, I only had like 10 minutes. So I was like running around, like taking as many pictures as possible. But well, they had a lot of interesting skeletal displays, I'll say that. So they have an Aremotherium as well. So what I've noticed is that this science center tends to have more unique dinosaur displays, fossil like skeletal mounts than other museums. It was clear that they tried to be unique. So, you know, instead of like Megatherium, they had Aremotherium. Well, they do have Smilodon, but they had Cohulaceratops. They had Lithorax. They had Gnathomortis, which I think is like a species of mosasaur. That was like the big mosasaur up there. And they had Lithorax. They had Dimetrodon grandis, I'm assuming. And they had a mount of Koreanosaurs. And also, yeah, it's the Dinorals Tarbosaurus as well. A very cool model of the T-Rex. They had the Herrerasaurus. It was an animatronic. And yeah, I didn't really got to take a look at the other places. I literally only went there to see the dinosaurs. So I didn't really get to see what else was in there, but I'm assuming that the science center would look pretty cool. So I would recommend visiting that. So then I went to the Gosangol Dinosaur Trackside. During night, it was like 11 p.m. when I took this picture. Because this is this park that is actually open 24/7. So I kind of wanted to visit this during late at night to kind of get a spooky horror vibe. But it was pretty well lit up, so the only thing horrifying was the scientific inaccuracy of these models. But yeah. I mean, I say that because, well, the most interesting things that I saw was Pachycephalosaurus chair and beetle slide. So yeah, the model quality wasn't exactly too good on these, but it was passable. But the main thing I was here for was the fact that they actually had footprints. They had footprints. This was similar to the Henan Dinosaur Museum in the sense that it was built on top of dinosaur footprints. So it's not big, it's not much, but they have a small section of hadrosaur prints. I mean, not even hadrosaur. I think they were said to be ornithopod prints. But yes, you can also see some of these dry lines. You see these? So these are like traces of water, like it's like a shallow water traces. So you can see that this used to be like a very coastal environment a long time ago, which is pretty cool. And what I did like about this is how they lit it up, so you can actually, like, the shadows are cast, so you can see the footprints a lot better. Which is something that Hanam, ironically, kind of didn't do too well. They lit it up nicely, but they lit up too much, so they didn't get to cast a lot of shadows with the footprints. So I couldn't see the footprints better. Whereas this one, they kind of did it pretty well. But then again, it was late at night, so maybe that's why it worked. So, yeah, there is, the Uksuchan Dinosaur Footprint site. It's a very small footprint site, And the reason I was visiting this was because it was near, like, the train station I had to go for my last place, which is the Miliang Dinosaur National Museum, I think. It wasn't even a natural history museum, it's just the Miliang Museum. Anyways, it was near to the train station that led over there. So, yes, so this is the dinosaur footprint site that I visited. And I kid you not, this has to be the most agonizing place that I visited. Not because this place was bad or anything, but for some fucking reason, the place where it was marked on Google Maps, this is where the place was marked, and this is where the actual footprints were located. This is an 8-minute walk. Why the fuck did they do it like this? Like, a genuine question. Like, because I wasn't told that the footprints were up there. I thought they were over here. So I ended up, like, landing on this bus station. I went down over here, and I spent, like, an hour looking for these prints. Like, because this place is not the actual footprint site. It was some kind of, like, drink factory storage site. So I was like, oh, like a random guy with a huge backpack walking around. And of course, people were suspicious of me, and they were like, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, I'm looking for dinosaur footprints. And even they were confused. Like, I was like, what the fuck do you mean you guys are confused? You said that this was the footprint site. And they said, oh, this is on the other side. So then I assumed, I guess it's on that side. So I went across over here, followed the lake all the way, like, down there. I walked for, like, 20-something minutes. And then I realized there was something wrong. So I had to go back. I climbed up over here. I met some people that told me that the footprints were on the other side. So I had to trek all the way across here. And, like, an hour after, I finally found the footprints here. Why? Like, why did you put them up there when the footprints are all the way up here? It's not even something that, like, there's no signage that says, oh, footprints, walk 800 meters. None of that. It's, like, it's just in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I was on the verge of just giving up, right? I was lucky enough to find these footprint sites, but yeah, it's up here. Like, why is it up here? But yes, like, it's a small track site of some small-sized sauropod print. So, yep, they had the Peppa T-Rex on the mural, so, yeah, and they also had Blue the Velociraptor as well. But yes, we have some small sauropod foot tracks. They aren't that big. I'm assuming it's like a juvenile or something. But it wasn't too big. So here we have the last place that we visited on the tour, which is the Miliang Museum. So I thought this would be a natural history museum because they had dinosaurs there. Well, they had the Pentaceratops skull. I thought that was very interesting. So that's like the main reason I came to the museum because, well, I didn't think I ever saw a Pentaceratops skeleton before in a different museum. So I thought maybe I should visit this one. It's pretty close to Busan, so I was like, oh, sure, I'm gonna visit this. Well, turns out that this museum isn't actually a national history museum, a natural history museum. It's like a history museum that for some reason has like a room dedicated to fossils. Like, it was weird, but like, it wasn't a bad experience. Like, because if you like South Korean history, you would love this place. I just felt that the dinosaurs were ironically out of place. Like, why does the museum have dinosaurs? Like, it has nothing to do with, like, South Korean history, because, like, they didn't even have, like, Koreanoceratops or something like that. They had, like, Utahraptor, they had Gastonia, Pentaceratops, Parasaurolophus, Stegosaurus, Euplacephalus, Brachiosaurus. For some reason, they actually did use the correct skull here. The Althithorax instead of the Giraffatitan, like the other museum that we saw. They had Platybelodon as well. Well, of course, it's a cast. Various species of prehistoric mammals. Some megalodon teeth, not megalodon, some shark teeth that were washed up on the shore. They had some carboniferous tree fossils. Some fish. And yeah, they had some pterosaurs up there too, which for some reason didn't actually have a display on what they were. So I'm assuming this is Pteranodon. Maybe a female Pteranodon. Maybe Ananguera, I'm not quite sure actually. But yes, that was the Miliang Natural History Museum. Not Natural History Museum. It was just literally Miliang Museum. But yes, it was a lot of history stuff. There was actually a lot of like historical artifacts, a lot of like cool dioramas as well. So, yeah, I would recommend visiting that place if you are going to visit this place. It's got a couple dinosaurs, but if you like history, this is the place for you. So yeah, this is basically the track site that I took. So all the way over here. Yeah, pretty cool. It took me like 6 days. And honestly, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. Like, I realized that, well, I was gonna talk about every single thing in detail, but then I realized, like, I was traveling for like 6 hours. I mean, 6 days. So if I would write all of that down, like, I would start talking about it, it would take a while. So this is the general gist of it. Oh yeah, I also wanted to talk about this. So on the first day of the trip, I ended up going to a convenience store, and they actually sold Tamagotchis. And they were stated to have, like, they said that the Tamagotchi has like 140 something animals you can raise. So I thought they had to have a dinosaur there, right? So I bought it for like $5. And the Tamagotchi had dinosaurs as well, luckily. But the funny part of this Tamagotchi is that because it had this thing, I carried around this thing on my bag while I was on my trip. For some reason, if you press this reset button, the pet just fucking dies. So, what would happen basically throughout the majority of the trip was that because this thing was like hanging around my bag, if the reset button got pressed accidentally, the pet would just die. So, I don't know why this is so funny, right? Like, I would just raise this pet with love, but I just accidentally just would take like a wrong step down, like a staircase, and this guy would just like hit my bag in the very wrong angle, accidentally press a reset button, and the pet that I was raising for like 2 days would just like fall over and die. So, I had to like literally like pull out the reset button and like cut it off with a scissor, so prevent that from happening. But yes, I just find it very silly, the idea of a Tamagotchi that literally had a suicide button that was very easily triggerable. Something about that was very silly to me, but yes, I don't know why I'm even saying that. Like, such meaningless things, but just talk about the museum, Lopho, or shut up. Okay, right. So yeah, that was the Lopho's Dinosaur Museum trip. I'll definitely probably make an in-depth review on each one of these museums separately, I think. Making them in one big museum video would take me like 6 hours. And judging from how well my trip to Japan, the Dinosaur Expo video did, which I think to this day only got like 200 something views, which I spent like 70 hours editing, so yeah, I'm probably not gonna do something like that again. I'll probably do like the bare minimum when it comes to editing, but yeah, probably like split it up into multiple parts. Maybe probably make it like a 3-parter. But yes, we might talk about each one of these museums a bit more in detail at some point, maybe in the future. But yeah, that was like a big trip. It was very enjoyable. Had a lot of things to talk about, and I really want to talk about more things. But it's 12 a.m. I actually do need to write an essay due tomorrow once again, so I'm kind of a time limit here. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, may the Jurassic World with you. Bye-bye.